welcome everybody to Dave Cooper Live, where we showcase the people, the products, and the processes helping us all to build it better. And today we ask the question, what is ConOps technology and how does it help us improve safety, productivity, sustainability, and affordability within the ecosystem of the built environment? Today, we're welcoming Stuart Meurer, President and CEO of New England-based Windover Construction, a leading full-service construction management firm focused on residential, commercial, and institutional projects. So, sorry about the pun here, but you're going to love this conversations on Valentine's Day about the tech-enabled process delivering predictable results. But first, before we do any of those things, we got to thank our sponsors. So here's a word from our sponsors, and we'll come right back. Stream Modular, the only logistics company you need to transport your mods, pods, and panels. Our friends at Stream Modular are investing $50 million over the next 25 years to build the technology, solutions, and trailers needed to handle and transport the projects of today and meet the demands of tomorrow. Reach out to their team at streammodular.com to discuss your next project. CombiLift is the largest global manufacturer of multi-directional forklifts and straddle carriers, a leader in long load handling solutions, offering a free warehouse and site optimization design service. CombiLift helps companies of all sizes and from every industry maximize the capacity, safety, and efficiency of their warehouse and storage facilities. A big thank you to Paul Short and the team at CombiLift for helping us all to build it better. Visit them at combilift.com. Brave Control Solutions, where offsite manufacturing systems that do more than just improve productivity. They have a unique approach to industrialized construction, a lineup of flexible automation systems specifically designed for the construction industry, empowered by CAD to Fab, and turnkey solutions for 3D volumetric assembly, structural insulated panels, finished wall assemblies, MEP component processing, assembly, kitting, and storage. Learn more at thinkbrave.com. All right, again, we cannot do any of these awesome conversations without all of our sponsors, so please take a moment and say thank you to them and go check them out. Now, for the good stuff, we're going to be talking about ConOps technology. What is ConOps technology? Well, we got Stuart Meurer coming on the show right now. Stuart, my friend, how are you?
I'm doing well, Dave. Thank you.
Man, Stuart, thanks for joining us today. You know, it's not the first time Windover's been on here. We had Meurer on here, quite a few months ago, but this is awesome that you took the time to join us as well. So thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. And thanks to you, Jennifer. And you mentioned all your sponsors, amazing groups, really kind of pushing technology and how we build. So I appreciate it to be a part of it.
Well, listen, we ask everybody on this show, Stuart, that we want to know everything about you from the moment you were born. Well, yeah. I might want to rephrase this one with you. From the moment you were born to this very moment in time, we want to know everything about you, and then we're going to get into the show. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Thank you. You got 2 minutes.
I know you do it every show, Dave, and I will talk about my journey of how I got here, and part of it brings you into the fold. I grew up in, it was right. I grew up in Pittsburgh, which is where you live now. And as you and I met like 3 or 4 years ago, conversation came up and the Small World Connections came about. And we discovered that not only did we both grow up in Pittsburgh, we both grew up in the North Hills, and we also both went to North Allegheny High School. Amazingly. So Small World Connections, and I think we're out in Phoenix or maybe Vegas when we found this out. But part of that, it made me reflect when I got back home, and I went down into my cellar and I pulled out some old yearbooks. And, you're always asking everybody about where they grew up and what they're all about. And I thought it was a good opportunity for me to kind of show Dave Cooper back in the day. You got to put this thing up. Let's call it the late 80s. Who's this guy?
Yeah, that would be me.
That is you. That is you, Dave. It's very important. Everybody, all of your listeners know what your history was. Feathered hair, turtleneck, nice crocheted sweater. That was good. So that was late 80s. So the other thing that I think is important is leadership's about humility. I feel very strongly about that. So I couldn't put you up here without giving myself a little bit of my old days and a photo from my yearbook. And so I did dig one out. And yes, this was a candid photo.
Party.
That's a candid photo of myself. One of the many toga parties we had. Somebody snapped a photo. This was well before social media. So this was actually hard film. Anyway, that's that. If that's not humility, I don't know what is.
I bet there was one of those party balls floating around that house somewhere.
I don't know. And I don't know if your older sister was at that party or not. But anyway, so that was, I started out in Pittsburgh, as you know, moved on to Northeastern up in Boston, and was able to go and get my mechanical engineering degree, which is really the heart of who I am. And it's really kind of propelled the way I think. So I stayed up in Boston, met my wife, and I work for CM firms up in the Boston area. I've been with 3 at this point, and I've been with Windover now for 13 years. Along the way, you know, it's, I think we'll talk more about it today, but along the way, it's about putting things together. And that was my background, understanding how things are put together, but also pushing it and determining how we can make it better. So it's been a fun journey. I've been with Windover, and as I mentioned, for 13 years, we built quite a team on the North Shore of Boston, and we're expanding out and being construction managers, not just in New England. We're on the Mid-Atlantic now as well. So we're pretty excited about that.
Oh, you are in the Mid-Atlantic as well. That's awesome. And currently, it looks like you're on a job site, right? It's a job site.
Yes. Yeah. I thought it was appropriate. I was going to do it from one of our old projects and then the office, but I'm like, I went to a job site. So yeah, we're building a performing arts center for Concord Academy outside of Boston. And this is just an example. It was actually cold. I was going to do it out on site because we're swinging steel today and the cranes are out. But I felt that it would maybe it's a better backdrop because this is also explaining what technology means to Windover and how we approach it. This is just something very simple, but this is just cameras of all the different construction activities. I'm in the superintendent's office, so he could be working on obviously paperwork and other things, having meetings, but also make sure he's got a good eye on what's going on. So it's just one use of ConOps technology.
Yeah, and we're going to get into ConOps, but first, listen, Juan, explain a little bit about the different types of projects that Windover does, right? And I know it's evolved over time, and I also know that you guys are making some major moves in the offsite space as well, not only with your own projects, but you're actually helping building manufacturers out there as well. I'm not sure you can talk about that, but I think I saw a press release. So let us know a little bit about who you are, and then let's truly get into what does ConOps mean.
Yeah. Thank you for doing that. I have a little slide if you want to put that up. But, Windover has evolved like many construction firms have over the years, really focusing on right now. I mean, I'll give you an idea of the projects we've done, but it's really how we build. It's not necessarily what we build. So as you mentioned before, academic, we've really cut our teeth in, early on as an organization, doing a lot of work in higher ed and secondary schools, all private work. We're also doing multi-unit family work, which, again, it gives that opportunity for modular construction or repeat type of layouts and architecture. These are just some examples of some of the work we do. And you talked about offsite or industrialized construction. That is absolutely something we're trying to push every single day. Fortunately, we're at the front end of a lot of our projects because we start out with pre-construction. And even if we're just a construction manager and we're part of an overall design team, sometimes we do design build, which gives us that much more ability to really push the envelope when it talks about providing solutions. But an example is one of our schools, the one in the middle. It's the red. It's a circular stair. It's right in the middle of a mezzanine at Dartmouth College. Yeah. An amazing offsite construction. Many elements on that project. Materials coming from Europe, along with locally domestic products. But that's our background. That's our bread and butter. Now, do you
guys? I know you work here in the country, Mid-Atlantic, but I mean, you really have projects all around the world, or at least you're working all around the world. Yes.
Yes, exactly. And we're not doing bricks and mortar around the world, but we're absolutely using our technology and the ways we use technology to help clients, external clients. And we've built this concept of IDEA, which is a platform that allows us to work with external clients, even if we're not the construction manager on the project yet. The hope is that we can advance that and be a turnkey operation with our clients and our design teams. But yeah, right now we've done work in Egypt, Australia, and actually we're doing a project right now in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates, and they'll be going over there in a couple weeks, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, enjoy it while you're there. Enjoy the warm weather as well. I mean, the water is just as hot as the air when you get in the ocean.
Yeah, exactly. But so that's just an example of our technology and how we're utilizing it outside of our bricks and mortar.
So you're passionate about, con ops technology. What does it truly mean? What is con ops, the definition? And then I'd love to get into how you're using this throughout your organization and your projects.
So the way we've approached this is there's a lot of opportunity early on. Let's just say we really started to embrace how we're utilizing our technology about 6 or 7 years ago. And at that time, there's a lot of ways of using it so that you can do it for marketing, or you could, do a nice presentation so people understand what you're going to be building. And that's fine. And that to us was just a starting spot. But we wanted to understand, how do we utilize it and provide solutions across the whole cycle of a project, which includes pre-construction, not only when the team gets assembled, but the pre-construction process all the way through, implementation with our trade partners and how we get to bring them on so that it's effective and efficient, all the way through the construction phase, and then beyond, after we turn over a building or a project to our client. How are they going to utilize that building, and how can we give them the tools so that they're more efficient? And we can talk a little bit more about that specifics, but that's we carry this whole model that we build all the way through, and that's why we feel it's really important.
Right. And then help me understand some of the budgeting constraints that someone would need to actually implement some of these con ops. So I don't know if we can get into some specifics like you were talking about, but then, is this stuff expensive to put in place? I mean, obviously some video cameras aren't too expensive like you have, and that's a simple form behind you.
That's right. And that's more security based. But yes, you're absolutely right. You got to take steps in it, but it's very easy to do a return on investment to understand. And I'll give you an example. Right now we do in-house, we will scan all of our projects, both through LiDAR in our drones, but we also stitch that together with we have a couple different scanning pieces of equipment that sit down on the ground. We stitch those together. We understand what existing conditions are. So this particular project, we went out and we scanned the whole foundation. Mm-hmm. And when we scanned that, we overlaid the model that was fully coordinated over it. We identified if there was any conflicts for where the anchor bolts were going to be, for instance. This is a type 2 construction, so it's all steel. And the structural steel was coming in, fabbed, 50 miles away, came in, it's got to sit down. You got to have issues, right? If it doesn't sit down, there's going to be scheduling issues. There's going to be costs. It's very easy to do a cost analysis and understand that you save one mistake and you've paid for your whole system. So there is an investment up front, but we've absolutely seen the return on it tenfold.
So let me get this right. There's a project happening. There's the site work happening, and then there's the fabrication of the steel, or I would imagine mass timber, modular. It doesn't really matter what the pieces are that are coming in. You can actually overlay the entire BIM project or the technology and you can scan let me get this right. You can scan the whole site, scan the foundation system, then bring that in to make sure that it matches exactly to the plans that were being drawn and being built at the manufacturing.
Exactly. So we'll do it also with utilities as well, because we all know that utilities on the underground have to come up into shafts. And as people probably get sick and tired of hearing this from me, but I say it's much easier to move a pipe with a shovel than a jackhammer after you place your slab. And so the same thing happens with steel. I mean, think about the costs and you talked about safety, because safety, this is a great example. We're out here swinging steel 2 or 3 stories in the air. You've got an iron worker and they're trying to fudge and make things to work if it's not just right? Everyone wants to make it work. And that's where you can get yourself into a situation that might be putting somebody in a compromising spot from a safety standpoint.
Yeah. Hey, listen, no doubt. I mean, I've done a lot of modular and panelized builds in my life, and I have never been on one that we haven't had to break out a Sawzall right? Or the clown hammer to get something to fit exactly the way it needed to fit because it was off somewhere. And I think,
Exactly.
when you take the man hours, the effort that it takes, especially if it's a multi-story building and something's not going together and somebody has to hang by a thread with a harness to make it work, not so good, right?
Right. Exactly. So it's a good example of that technology and safety and how it ties together.
So do you guys do this on every project yourselves now? Like when you're building, like depending on the size?
We are. It doesn't matter the size. This is our standard, and we've been committing to this standard for the past probably 5 years. I mean, we're fortunate. We have VDC team that can do it in house, so it's much easier.
Right.
And so yes, it's a standard from a QA/QC standpoint. It helps us keep on schedule. It helps minimize costs. No one wants anybody to have to rework. Right. It's costly enough to do it the first time, let alone the second time.
I would imagine you have a lot of repeat customers based on using this technology to help deliver successful projects. And that's kind of setting it up for that question, right? The cost savings that comes with using this technology, not only from a safety standpoint, a liability standpoint, there's all kinds of insurance risks, I think, that would play into this if you're using technology to make things better and safer. But what are you seeing, like, now that you've been using this for a while when you're working on projects with the client out there, to be able to say, hey, listen, because we use this technology, here's the features, benefits, and the savings?
We're seeing it quite often, not only with our own teams and our work, but as I mentioned, we're working for external clients or for designers. And a good example is we'll go in and scan existing conditions if it's a renovation project. So we're able to go in and not use the as-built that were probably on linen or whatever the case may be from 100 years ago. We'll go in and we'll scan and we build our models of the existing conditions based upon that. And then from there, we all know that the architect and the designers are starting at the right spot rather than relying on as-built. So that's just one example how clients have almost said we would really like Windover to be utilized on this pre-construction effort with new designers that come on their campus.
Right.
Yeah, so that's been very helpful. And then, certainty of outcome is a big thing. As I mentioned, schedule. This is helping us with schedule. And there's a lot of facets to it in pre-construction. We're advising our trade partners about exactly how we're doing sequencing, and we're using the model and the technology. This is exactly how we're doing it. These are our milestone dates. We need to hit these. This is how we're building the project. It's literal, and it's illustrated on a diagram. Everyone understands it, sets clear expectations. And we know it's keeping schedules closer and on schedule, or even getting ahead of schedule. So that's a big.
Yeah, the technology. So let me ask you this, and so people watching this and want to incorporate some of this into their practices. This technology already exists, or is this something you're developing in-house and building yourselves, or is this pretty much just looking at what the world already has to offer and applying it to our industry?
There's a combination of both. There are some things that you can get out of a box that we're using. We use a lot of the Autodesk products because they tie off really well with obviously with BIM and other ways of tying off the way we're using it. But we end up stitching some of that together that creates, as I mentioned, our 4D planning. So we're actually using a software that was really created for the movie and animation through Autodesk, but we're bringing it into the construction space. So that's just one way of doing it. We are creating some new platforms currently right now. We are doing that with one of our clients, as I mentioned earlier. And that's helping our teams, provide different solutions that no one's seen before.
Right.
And it's pretty exciting.
Got it. So super cool. What about the digital twin? Are you seeing that leading to more operational efficiency for the owners and the occupants of the building?
Yes, we know it will, and our latest digital twin is at Phillips Exeter Academy. We finished that project about a year ago, and they've been utilizing it, and they're very excited about it because of how it's not about necessarily today or year 1, year 2, year 3. It's how they see the cycle of this building, especially one of our clients like that. They've been around for over 200 years, and their buildings, they're 100-year buildings, right? Plus. So having that knowledge of that digital twin and that model, and that they can always revert back to it. They're putting IoT sensors in now so that it's real time. So you talk about post occupancy commissioning, seeing how efficient things are working. Not everything works like it was designed. So this is that real time that they're getting that feedback and making adjustments accordingly.
So let's talk about IoT and the Internet of Things. Give me some examples of like the feedback of real things happening. We talking the light bulb in the hallway goes off and you get a notification, or are we talking about tracking how many times somebody plugs into certain outlets in the house, or is it all of that and above?
It's all that and above. And like, for instance, we were talking to a museum recently, and they're utilizing their occupancy, how the occupancy at the front gate or at the front door when they come in, and then you use an occupancy and seeing how people travel around the museum, and they're picking up patterns on that, and start to understand. Okay, well, as far as how they get a super cool room, perhaps, because this one client is actually in the Middle East, so it's a very a hot climate. So they're trying to make sure that they're as efficient as possible. Same thing with day lighting and things like that. Good opportunities for efficiencies.
Yeah, yeah. Well, having all this tech-enabled, stuff around us is awesome, especially since our industry is starting to look at how they can actually collect data and use data to build it better and to make things better. When somebody's collecting all of this data, where does that data reside? Do you have to build systems for it to actually collect this data, or is this part of the off-the-shelf stuff that's already existing?
It's a Tandem. Tandem is the product by Autodesk, and they continue to advance it as well. But that's where it ends up living. It comes back to that, and it stays in the Tandem model. So that's why it's really it is off the shelf for the most part. Everything can be modified, but it's an Autodesk product right now.
Right. Are you able to talk about some of the collaborative things you've done with Autodesk and their tech center in Boston and all of that?
Yes. So this is a good example. I mean, we've been fortunate enough to pilot 2 of their softwares, and Tandem was one of them. We also did Takeoff, which is an estimating software, early on. And again, we were just giving them feedback along with some of their other partners in our industry. And that to me was refreshing. We're giving them real-time examples that we're seeing and experiencing. And then we have people on our staff that are turning the wrench as well, or they've been through that. So the facilities management. So they understand what they're going to want from an outcome, and then how can they work with those results and make it better. So that's been great working with Autodesk on those 2 different softwares. We're at the tech center, as you mentioned. We're fortunate enough they have 4 tech centers around the world, and the Boston one is based upon the AEC industry, utilizing different automation and different tech tools of how we can really advance and provide solutions within the construction industry. We've been fortunate. We've been there for 5 years now, I believe. So it's allowing us to try new things on. And that's really, I mean, as far as our innovative spirit within our construction company, it is vastly grown about people's understanding of what a true innovative culture can be. And so I'm out here on the job site, and superintendents, I mean, I've been in the industry for over 30 years. Superintendents maybe aren't used to big changes, right? Especially technology. But when they start to see how they impact, they can make impacts in how they construct. They can impact in schedule, all these things. It only took a few examples of this to say, wow, this is something exciting. And now they start to come with our VDC team and come with like, hey, I got a challenge here. How can you help us? And that's what it's exciting to see with our teams.
Oh, great. So not only are you being the general contractor and building these projects out, but you're also becoming the problem solver for things that may not even be coming up yet to help them work through their next projects as well, right?
Yes, cool. Exactly. And you talked about offsite construction, industrialized construction. I mean, that's something we've embraced, and it's what we look at every time we open up a set of plans or we start to talk to a client about what they want to build. Yeah. We look at the challenges and we try to find the solutions. That anything that's offsite construction, if we can get it into that build, we want to, for the obvious reasons. I think a lot of people know, from a workforce standpoint, to a safety standpoint, to efficiency standpoint. So the technology that we're using now through pre-construction and the design process is making that much easier. You talked about pulling a Sawzall, right? Volumetric modular. It happens sometimes, but if we can go in and make sure that the built site is matching the model, which is what the factory site is coming in, we all know that comes together and it's going to make it much more efficient.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about robotics, right? Because you mentioned the tech center at the Autodesk, in Boston, which is, by the way, a really cool place to visit and to see all the research that they're doing. And Any of you out there, you're watching this, you got some tech you want to try out there, always looking for new ideas to come into their Innovation Tech Center at Autodesk. But, are you guys using robotics in your builds now? Everything from, let's say, exoskeleton suits to robotic dogs or any cool stuff like that. In fact, I think I heard a story about a robotic dog one time that you guys had. Not that we're bringing up things in the past.
Yes. So at one point we were working on robotics and how we're going to implement that into our everyday construction. And it was a great pilot project we were working on, and we're no longer working on it right now. It doesn't mean that we've given up on it by any means, but we're just trying to figure out the best way to, like, from a safety standpoint, layout standpoint, how can we not take jobs away from people, because that's not what we're doing. We all know there's a shortage, but it's also efficiency, right? And how can you do that off hours, for instance, right? You don't want somebody doing layout on second or third shift if you can have a robot do it, for instance. And then as far as digitized fabrication that we try to use at Autodesk, very fortunate that we have so many machines with so many capabilities to use and to provide those solutions that will help certain elements of a project. And we've talked about that before. And Dave, fortunate enough, we've spent a lot of time with us in the tech center as well, so their capabilities. Yeah, I love it. I love the capabilities that they have up there. And I think the tech's just going to keep evolving. It's really cool because even here, your hometown of Pittsburgh, don't forget about us. I mean, Carnegie Mellon in this area is becoming the robotics capital of the world. I was shocked when I moved back here and heard that. No, absolutely. It's a combination of, and that's what this tech center, the incubator space is. It's about bringing academia, bringing design teams, engineers, contractors, constructors together, and really sitting around the table. And that's what I love about, they'll have share sessions about what they're experiencing in their different parts of their industry and how we're going to make it better. I know that's what you always want, right? Make it better. Build it better, make it better, whatever. Just it happens. Oh, I'm sorry, make it better. That's one of our values. Yeah, build it better is yours. Yes. We have so many people living on the streets across this country, just on the residential side, that how we've been doing it clearly isn't working. Right? It's not affordable. It's not sustainable. So I think with all of that, doing what you guys are doing, and kind of being the folks out there taking the arrows. You're trying these things out, and you're pushing the envelope on technology, and you're finding the things that work and the things that don't work, I think is an invaluable, thing to be doing. And you're kind of helping lead the way for so many others out there. And that's another thing that I see with you guys is, your culture is all about, developing new technologies, better ways to build, safer ways to build. I think that, to me, is what we need more of in this industry. I couldn't agree anymore. You touched upon affordable housing. That's one of the major parts of the markets that we do build in, and there's a great need. But making not only efficiencies is important right now. Energy conservation and changing energy codes and building codes is critical, and finding offsite construction means for making that much more efficient, airtight, and higher performing envelopes is critical as well. Talking about your team, and then I'm going to move on from that. You mentioned innovative culture. Let's talk about how one develops that, because in my travels around the world, Stuart, the most successful companies out there have the best cultures. I mean, people have bought into it. They live and breathe it. They come up with new ideas. Tell us a little bit about how your culture is. Well, I'm grateful that I've been given the opportunity to help build Windover over the past 13 years. But its foundation is based on not only culture, but the values, our value system. And there's some of all the values are important, and they govern us and the decisions we make, who we want to work with, how we want to put teams together. And there's some things when it comes into a culture of innovation, which I think, to me, is extremely important with our culture. There's one of our values is called take intelligent risks. And I think that speaks for itself, right? It's about empowerment. It's about, hopefully the words are, and we live it out, it's about providing that psychologically safe space to make that decision, to try on something creative, and to understand that the consequence, we all live it, they'll own it. we all live by the consequence, but we're in it together. And it's not somebody out there sitting, taking this on by themselves. As I say, if we're going to make a big decision, we bring each other into a worry circle to make sure we understand what's going on, but go for it. That's what we want to encourage people, go for it. And that's what I'm more and more of it. And it's not just in ConOps, like we're trying to push it down to everybody in our organization. If accounting, if something's wonky and it's not working, or our trade partners, the way they do things are different, let's play with it. Let's make it better. That's our sixth value, by the way. But setting that up, the safe space, making sure people feel empowered, and making sure they feel comfortable taking the intelligent risks is really going to help us propel innovation.
You know what? If you don't mind, send us your values, and I'll put them on the description to this video, so people can truly get a quick glimpse when they're reading about this and what those values are. Hey, maybe even incorporate some of those themselves. This industry is big enough for all of us.
Absolutely, yeah. Great point. We might seem like we're trailblazers in some of this, which we are, but other things we're not. And we wanted to share. We want the tides to lift all the boats, and that's why we absolutely want to share and make it better across our industrialized construction world, for sure.
You know what? And we'll get into that too. And, where the collaborations are, things that you're building and working with other manufacturers and builders out there in just a minute. But first, I want to talk about the YMCA. I think it was the Cabot Street project you guys had.
Yeah.
Right. And you guys were using, in fact, a Meurer was telling us about, it was the telescoping studs, I think, that Howick makes, and the LiDAR scanning on that YMCA Cabot Street. And you were building an existing floor above the residential units, but people didn't have to leave the floors below. Is that correct?
To some extent, yeah, to a certain point, but then they did vacate because there was just so much structural upgrades that took place. We infilled a courtyard, and yes, it was a 5th floor vertical expansion, which anybody that's done vertical expansion knows that it can be extremely challenging.
Right.
Keeping weather tight. So yeah, utilizing LiDAR, again, existing conditions, making sure when the steel came in, it was going to hit. It had to, because time is of the essence, especially when you're opening up a roof in the New England weather. And that was a very, very challenging project. One of the wettest summers, probably not at this point, but back then it was, that our area has seen. Telescoping studs, good example. Unevenness. Like, we're just trying to make sure that if we have a product like the Howick where we can utilize the telescoping studs, why not? It's perfect. They come in, and we can easily no cutting going on, nothing to worry about with upsetting and disrupting the residents at the same time. So it was kind of a win-win. We're kind of working through what the best solutions might be for that particular project.
Yeah. Howick's been a supporting member of Dave Cooper Live for a long time. And I will tell you that telescoping stud, to me, is one of the most innovative things. And I'm not saying it because they support us. Like, if you don't know about it, you should check it out, because it'll save you a lot of headaches, especially on renovations and older builds where things aren't exactly straight.
Yeah, absolutely. And they don't support us, and we are big fans, and we're partners with Howick, trying to make sure that we can really utilize their technology.
Oh, great. I love it. Let's talk about energy codes, Stuart. Adopting energy codes. Is the Boston area leading the way when it comes to adopting the energy codes? And how, as a company, do you fall into making sure you're meeting the energy codes?
Yes, so they are adopting, and they're on the upper scale of moving the energy codes is more stringent, let's just say, across the country. And Massachusetts is about to adopt that across the whole Commonwealth. It's a matter of how we know we're going to be building. Not everybody in the country is going to be building that way right now, but it's a matter of time. So what we're trying to do is embrace the efficiency of it. I mean, Passive House is just one means of certifying that you're meeting those requirements of a high performance envelope, but it's about how you put those things together. How do you put the elements together that's giving you the best opportunity for success, and not rework. Rework is what kills you with envelopes. So using like a lot of panelized assemblies, that's what we're trying to do more of. So again, I go back to industrialized construction, offsite construction, doing those panel systems so they're tight. Everything's been coordinated on the model well in advance. It goes to the shop, it gets all built, it comes out, it goes together really, really well. And the rework doesn't need to occur, but it's absolutely a challenge. Lifting everybody up with the knowledge of what it's going to take to meet these energy codes that are coming.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely coming. So I'm gonna throw a few bugs for the end of the show here in about 5-10 minutes. And one is, I'd love for you at the end of the show to share what you feel has been the greatest add of technology to your business at Windover and the team there. If somebody were to start this, road down technology and really want to up their game, what would be that first thing that you would really truly look at? Or maybe there's several little pieces. So I think that'd be fun to touch on, but let's save that just for a few moments later down the road. And also, Stuart, I don't know if you know it, but you got a QR code above your head. And it's your personal information, your home address. No, I'm just kidding. That QR code is for everybody out there. I have 28 free full access tickets to the International Builders Show coming up in Las Vegas. It's going to save you quite a bit of money. And 3 of those full access tickets have the full education session. So click that QR code, sign up. We're going to be pulling names here over the next week or so, and you could have a chance to win. It's an $875 value. You want to save $875? I bet, Stuart, you like saving $875?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Make sure you go there, and then we'll go to Henry's comment here in just a few moments. But you talked about taking intelligent risks, right? We talked about how it inspires culture, how it inspires safety. And I think that's something you know very well. But something else is mental health, risk is very rampant right now in our space. And I know I saw some of your slides. This might be a good place to look at some of those other slides that you had here.
Yeah, so I can tell you a little bit about it. It's something that, the stats are staggering. And depending on how many people are on this call, 20% of them could be dealing with it right now, not only in their own space, but with family members or friends. And the construction industry is at the higher level, at higher rates of mental illness, unfortunately, suicide and substance abuse.
Right.
A lot of pressures that come with that. A lot of reasons for it occurring. Overtime, bad hours, work-life balance. There's a lot. It's not just the construction industry, but that's why I'm here. So we're making an effort to really make sure that awareness is everything, to break down the stigma about what mental health is, and to make sure that the barriers for getting help are taken away as well. I mean, we unfortunately we experienced a very tragic loss of one of our employees last year, and it absolutely hit home. We knew that it was an issue out there, but it absolutely hit home, and we've turned things around, and we talk about it. We talk about, and we also. I mean, I was very proud of our team. We saw some signs with somebody. They were showing warning signs of stress and anxiety, and we were helping this individual get some help. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. We couldn't get enough help for him. But anyway, that's the idea here. And since then, it's good because we have open discussions about it. And I think that's why I need to tell everybody, look for the signs, make sure you have open discussions. It's a real thing. It's real in our industry. And you get an opportunity, you can really save and turn people's lives around. This is just a little slide because there is a new number out there for people, and whether you think this is public service or not, it's real service for me, and it's 988. So it's similar to 411 or 911. It's a 988 number, and it's not about it is crisis management if somebody's in a crisis mode, but it's there for somebody to talk. It's there for somebody to get resources in their area. And if they're feeling something, or more importantly, if they're a friend or they know about somebody, they can help get some information about, getting help in their area. So I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to talk about that because it's very near to our heart and our team.
Yeah. It's so unfortunate that, it's happening in our industry, but I mean, it's happening in a lot of industries, As wonderful as all this social media and life is, I think there's a lot of mental stress and pressure that comes with, work today, maybe even more than when we were kids growing up, before we had these fun little things and everybody can get a hold of you every second. And then obviously the cost of living and so many other things are playing a role in what's happening out there. And I'm truly sorry to hear about, one of your team members and that happening. So I love the idea that you go about teaching and talking about this. Can you give us an example of what you do to bring your team together to have a real conversation like this?
Well, I mean, awareness is around training, and we've always focused on training. And those are simple things about making sure that we all understand what those signs might be, where the stresses might be. It's the little things that can help. You can help out with somebody that's early in this process.
Yeah.
There's a stat out there that they say when somebody is in a situation of really starting the early signs of mental illness, there's a stat that it takes 8 years for them to get through to finally get into treatment. That to me is staggering.
8 years.
8 years. That's a stat. And I can quote it if I can give you that information later on. But it's the whole idea of breaking down the barriers of getting people help, finding the right help, making sure from the financial means are there so that they can get proper help. And fortunately, we've had 2 people go on leave this past year who had the confidence to do it. They weren't gone long, but it gave them, they went through the Family and Medical Leave Act, and it gave them what they needed to get an adjustment and get in a better space. So anyway, it's near and dear. And like you said, it's not just in the construction industry. People use it at home.
And you know what? I think the biggest thing I'm learning from this, Stuart, is that it starts with leadership, and the leadership letting everybody know that it's okay to deal with things if you have to deal with them. Because nobody wants to feel like they're going to lose their job or they can't, all that adds stress. And it sounds to me, if you're addressing this within the culture of your company, there's a way forward to where, you're not looking to get rid of anybody. You're looking to help people. And if the help is what they need, then these are the processes you take, and we're there with you every step of the way.
Exactly.
Yeah. Super, super important. Super important. Well, listen, I'm going to put it back on the screen one more time just so everybody can see it here. I have, what happens when I call 988. You hear an automated welcome message with these options, right? And you can go through and answer whatever it is you need to answer. But 988. So if you're out there and you're a leader, share this with your team. I think it makes a whole lot of sense. So love it.
Yeah, right. It's on our job sites as well. I mean, that's an important thing, right? We can only do so much with our company, but we cascade it down because we do touch a lot of people on our construction sites as well.
And you guys are using so much in your job sites, and we don't have time to get through it all. Even the QR code scanning with the VR, you can walk on your job sites, and your VR, you can put a VR helmet on. You can see the rest of the project before it's even built. I mean, this is cool stuff. And you can see problems.
Yeah. So you see conflicts, right? And exactly. And MEPs, like you're going to see the brand new structure that's going out there. You're going to find out if the sprinkler fitter is going to be in the right spot or not, right? According to drawing. So it's cool. Very helpful for us.
All right. So 2 more questions, and then we're going to go to comments and wrap it up here. So cool new tech. What are you seeing in terms of what's new and what's next? I mean, where's this heading? What is the future of construction looking like from somebody that's already using tech? What are you excited about?
Well, everyone's talking about machine learning or AI, right? And how do we integrate that in so that it's an effective tool and not just a fancy little thing so you can that we know that there's options out there for that. That's one of the ways that we're trying to utilize that from how we put together our workflows with our teams, because it's all about the information. If we can get that information in their hands that much quicker, we're all more efficient and everything goes smoother. So that's what we're looking at, is how do we utilize that with projects and all the project information. Another way is we're in the process of building 2D to 3D models automated. And we're well into that right now. Again, that's going to help not only our teams, all of our projects are in 3D models, but where I see it helping is our trade partners that might not be at that level yet, and they're still using AutoCAD, or they still have a PDF, for instance. Mm-hmm. And how can we use our new technology we're trying to develop right now to turn into a model, a functioning model for them. So it's about advancing not only ourselves, but advancing our trade partners so that they're more efficient as well.
Love it. Love it. All right, here's the question I asked earlier. If I'm a manufacturer and I'm not that advanced yet, and I'm looking to take some baby steps to move forward, if I'm a manufacturer, what should be the first piece of technology that I should implement or you think we should implement?
So manufacturing, industrialized construction, I would say they probably already have a pretty good engineering or detailing department already put in place. Utilizing the modeling and coordination in-house, and it might be something that they want to consider if they're working with a construction manager, general contractor that isn't using that they bring it into house, or they provide those services so that a full job can be coordinated and that they can integrate their element into it so they know it's coordinated. I'm sure it's going to help their efficiencies, help their problems, but also help the overall project. From a manufacturing standpoint, we do scanning, even volumetric modular. We've encouraged one of our volumetric modular providers to take on and do scanning of all of their builds as it goes along down the runway. So utilizing that so we can transfer the information. And that's another thing. So if you can transfer the information of the offsite build to the site build team, they know it's coming. They understand what's coming. They understand the limitations. They can all see it. It just helps when it lands on site if it's a manufactured product.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go to a comment here from Henry Mickelberg. He says, typing awkwardly. I doubt that. I suggest that CM is better fit than turnkey GC because you can identify in the optimized construction tech and solutions agnostically to your clients and have the opportunities are contractually obligated to demonstrate the workings out of your options. What are your thoughts on that?
So there's a lot in there to peel back, but I absolutely agree that the process of using these tech solutions early on in pre-construction or even at concept with clients and design team is absolutely the right way to do it. And when you can integrate with your design teams and the builder is going to be in lockstep early on, you're going to get the best product. I know it. I've seen it.
Appreciate you, Henry. Christoph, hi, guys. Just joined, but we'll rerun later. Great to see you, Dave and Stuart. Great work. That's always awesome to hear people from overseas joining us. Christoph, I'll see you, I guess, in a couple weeks here at the International Builders Show and others. So, all right, so this is going to be my last thing. So you're already using VDC. You've adopted industrialized construction. You're already using some of the coolest tools in the tool belt, so to speak, when it comes from technology. In your mind, what does the future of construction look like for Windover and as an industry as a whole? Final words.
Tying off a fully integrated model. I mean, we've always talked about it, and there's limitations if it's not done right. And I think a fully integrated model so that it is absolutely not redundancy taking place with offsite construction. If they're not tying in and using that model, then there's one more step. It should be, they're doing it successfully, well, in parts of this country, but mostly in Europe. They are doing it more and more. And when we can get to that, that is efficiency. So you got integration all the way from the design engineering team, all the way through manufacturing to the site build team. That is what it should be.
Yeah, that is the golden egg, right? We have this conversation all the time, and there's very few, if anybody, that has that ability to go from the very beginning of a project to the final delivery and results. So
that's courage. No, we haven't been able to do it yet. We haven't. We've been able to get close, but we haven't got to it. We do design build work as well. So it's the courage of every single member of the team. If it's an integrated project delivery method, that might be a good contract type for that. But we want to get to that. And we want to show that it can be successful on custom projects and even in one-off projects. It doesn't have to necessarily be hotel after hotel after hotel, right?
Yeah. So are you looking for any partners, collaborators, right now? How do I work with your team, Stuart? That's what I want to know. How can I learn from your team?
Having forum like this is great. I appreciate you having this podcast because it's sharing ideas. And I think that's the key. We talked about the tech center before. It's about sharing ideas. So how can we have more of a, as I say, having a collaborative, right? We're trying to do more collaboratives like in mass timber, in newer technology that's coming in or newer building needs coming in. There's challenges with all of them, right? And how do we get better? So Dave, next time you take me to Permanes and we have an Iron City together and we can start to collaborate and brainstorm about how we're going to bring this together.
I love it. It's funny. I was going back to this just real quick because you mentioned Permane Brothers. See the mullet, right? Guess what? Right. I just heard on WDVE this morning that if you come into Permane Brothers and you let them give you a mullet, you get sandwiches for the rest of the year for free, as long as you keep your mullet.
Wow. That's heritage right there. And Dave, you look great with the feathered hair. You look great with the more crew cut hair. You got more in your face than in your head. That's good. Yeah. I'm not saying that for any reason.
Yeah, no.
You're looking great.
Clearly, your stress is not as bad as my stress. Who knows? But yeah, you look good. I appreciate it. Don't go anywhere, Stuart. I'll come back to you after the end here. But everybody else out there, hey, listen. Click on that QR code. You want a free pass to the International Builder Show coming up at the end of the month? Well, you need to click on that code right there. I will be giving them away, 28 of them, and 3 with the full education passes. To include, we will be in Las Vegas on the 27th. Come see us speak. We got the big floor this year, Stuart. In fact, we got the big stage. We're doing a super session, and you're going to have an hour and a half of me showcasing all the hottest tech in the startup zone, all the hottest new products in the startup zone. You're not going to want to miss this. They got 4 minutes to pitch. And if they don't get off the stage, I get to gong them. It's going to be a lot of fun. It will be fun. So click on that link right there so you can join us. Stuart, thank you so much. And the rest of you out there, make sure you thank these sponsors as well, because we cannot bring you these awesome people like our good friend Stuart over here without the help of our supporters. So we'll see you next time, Stuart. I'll come back to you.
Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
Be safe out there, everyone.
What an amazing show. Thank you to all of our sponsors for helping us to continue to bring all of these innovative conversations to all of you out there. Please visit them, see what they have to offer you. And as always, subscribe to the YouTube channel and ring that bell. It would mean the world to us. I'm Dave Cooper. Thanks for watching.